Step 5. Launching your first product. When Matt and I first started growing sheer strength, we loved to walk around bodybuilding shows and fitness conferences, just to see what kinds of products were being talked about. It was fun to walk up to booths that were offering samples of pre-workout drinks, take a sip, and say to each other, "Ours is better." It was a great way to spy on the competition and also to get product ideas. Looking back, those were some of the most fun days I've ever had in business. One day, while walking through one of the conventions, we saw a bunch of people lining up for free samples. That was a normal sight, of course. Companies gave out free samples of their products to generate buzz. But this was no ordinary line. This line of taste testers wrapped all the way around the convention hall, even interfering with some of the other companies' booths. There were hundreds of people in line for a free sample of something. It was like an amusement park with everyone waiting for the most popular roller coaster to open. I wondered if maybe The Rock was at the other end of the line signing autographs or something. Fun fact, Matt and I always dreamed of partnering with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, at sheer strength. We did meet him once, but it never materialized. Overcome with curiosity, I turned to someone in line and asked, "Hey, what's this line for?" He pointed up to the ceiling. There I saw the logo of a company I had never heard of, Quest Nutrition. In an instant, I became fascinated with this company. It would be easy to think that Quest Nutrition always had a line of people waiting for it. It was just a few years into existence, and it was already the best-selling protein bar ever. I would later discover that Quest did $500 million in sales by its 4th year in business. That type of growth is amazing, but it didn't start out that way. I became so obsessed with Quest Nutrition that I invited the founder, Tom Bilyeu, to speak at the Capitalism Conference a few years later. Tom told me that he started out by making the products himself in his own kitchen. He was hand-cutting them on his own. Tom didn't even have a clear, launch plan in place. He would talk about it to whoever would listen, and he gave the bars out for free to athletes. Over time, small groups of raving fans started to form. They began sharing innovative ways to eat the bars. For example, if you heated it in the microwave and mushed it into a circle, it became a cookie. And if you broke the bar up and put it in a thick protein shake, it tasted like cookie dough. This small, hungry group of buyers quickly became known as Team Quest. Every time Tom wanted to do a product launch or a product test, he would release it to Team Quest first. That way there were raving fans ready to buy it the day it was ready. While Team Quest started as a small, ragtag team of superfans, it evolved into a powerful group of buyers. That passionate audience took Quest products to the gym, to the office, and eventually onto the shelves of nearly every retail chain in the United States. That small, passionate group of buyers put Quest on the map and led them all the way to a major acquisition. In 2019, Quest sold for a cool $1 billion. Gee, I thought to myself, wouldn't it be nice if people would line up to buy my products? And that's exactly what can happen to you when you do a proper product launch. That first sale feeling, the excitement of your first sale never goes away. I've launched dozens of times, and I still get excited every time I launch a new business. I still get that first sale feeling. At this point in the 12-month process, after stacking the deck, there's no turning back. Understandably, there's some doubt and fear. You're wondering if any of it's going to work, if even one person is going to buy what you're selling. Believe me, when people do start buying, and they will, it's the most validating dopamine kick you can imagine. That first sale notification pops up, and you think, I cannot believe this is actually happening. It gets even more amazing to see the names of people you don't recognize buying your product. People other than my mom actually like what I made. Your friends and family buy your product because you've been documenting it on social media and because people you've tagged as micro-influencers are buying and supporting your product, which is a great feeling. But it's an even better feeling when complete strangers start buying your product. That, my friend, is a real customer, somebody who found you through some sort of advertising mechanism. That advertising mechanism could be as simple as seeing someone else posting about it on Facebook, or maybe they found you by searching Amazon. When you see that new, unrecognized, unfamiliar name, you'll grin. You'll look at your partner, or your mom, or your dog, and you'll say, in a whisper at first, I think I just made a real sale. That's when you're really in business. Every single one matters in this stage of the process. Every sale is vital, and every social share or review is a potential game changer. It's your job to ensure that the momentum doesn't die after those first, exciting sales. It's your job to keep stoking that fire, and every inch gets stretched into a mile. That means winning over every customer, going above and beyond to your followers, and earning every review. One thing I've learned from my time with Gary Vaynerchuk is that every single person matters. Every comment you reply to can create a fan for life, and every customer who sings your praises can get the attention of the next major domino. Gary appreciates every share and every purchase from his audience. If a man beloved by millions is willing to get his hands dirty at the beginning of a new business, thanking his followers and going the extra mile for his customers, then you should expect the same from yourself. One slip at this stage of the process can undo much of your progress. One nasty review or one faulty product can set you back for months. That's why keeping the good faith of your customers and followers is so crucial at this stage of the game. If that sounds exhausting, take heart in the fact that the snowball builds quickly. For example, one retweet from the right person can bring in 10 new customers. One video testimonial can be turned into an ad that puts you on the map. One podcast mention can signal thousands of new superfans to pay attention to you. Every single step forward matters at this stage in the process. It's crucial to keep stoking the fire during and after launch. Since you've stacked the deck, the odds of success are in your favor. If you've built up buzz before launch, then the first few days will result in consistent sales every day. You will be excited, busy, and scared all at the same time. After the initial launch buzz dies down, usually 2 weeks after going live, you will likely see a normal pullback of about 50%. Prepare yourself for this dip in sales. It's inevitable. You will probably freak out, but almost everyone has an initial drop in sales after the launch buzz wears off. That's where the work really starts. Stay the course. As you fulfill your promises, going above and beyond to make your customers happy and turning sales into reviews, the snowball will start building, and you will start to grow week over week. At first, it will feel like you are scratching and clawing for every odd sale. Then you'll sell a couple of products a day. Then 5 a day. Then 10 a day, and on and on. The dopamine fluctuations during this time are indescribable. The highs are insanely high, and the lows feel like death. I've seen people reach a consistent 10 sales a day mark within a week of their launch. I also see a lot of people who struggle right out of the gate. You'll feel tempted to think bigger if you're not seeing the progress you want. I encourage you to do the opposite, go small. What is the smallest, simplest thing you can do to make a sale? I used to do weekly coaching calls with small groups of 25 to 50 people. One day, a guy named Ken was on one of the calls talking about how he was getting his friends and family to buy, but he couldn't break through the hump. He was trying some marketing strategies to get the product to take off, but nothing was clicking. I could tell right away that the reason Ken was struggling was because he was thinking too far out. He wasn't trying to go from 1 sale a day to 10 sales, he was trying to go from 1 to 100. Ken thought it would just magically happen if he'd done all the steps in the process. Ken, I said, I'm going to give you an assignment. Your job is to come back here next week with 10 reviews on your product. I don't care how you do it, but come to the call next week with 10 reviews on your product. I knew that, get 10 reviews, was a small enough task that he could figure it out. I also knew that if I gave him some big, complex strategy he was going to continue to struggle. When coaching a new entrepreneur, I have discovered that 80% of my focus is getting people not to do things. Don't build a new marketing strategy. Don't hire a new person. Focus on making sales, getting reviews, and building your audience. I had to talk Ken out of a bunch of good ideas to get him to focus on one thing, make a few sales and turn them into reviews. Do whatever you have to do to get those reviews, I said. If you have to order pizza 3 times a day and pitch each delivery guy on buying your product, then I guess you're going to eat a shit ton of pizza. But do not come back to this call without having 10 reviews. The next week, he waited until the end of the call before he spoke up. When it was his turn, he quietly and calmly reported on his progress. Well, I did what you told me to do. Okay, great. So what happened? Well, now I'm getting 7 to 10 sales a day from people I don't know. The rest of the group waited for him to celebrate, but he just looked blankly through my computer screen. What do I do now? He asked. Keep going. I told him, more excited for his success than he was. I think Ken was waiting for balloons to drop from the sky. The progress felt slow to him, but it was building. His snowball was rolling. It was just enough to get his product moving, and the momentum grew from there. When I first got stuck at 5 sales a day, it felt like I was climbing a mountain with no support. It seemed like it was going to be an impossibly long journey. I recognize that you're at the base of that mountain, too. It feels like it's going to be an exhausting slog that takes forever. But when you've stacked the deck right, and your brand starts to snowball after launch, that snowball builds more quickly than you'd think, and that momentum will continue as long as you keep the momentum going. You're in the people business now. I remember very well the time I got my first order from a repeat buyer. After buying one time, the same customer returned and made 3 more purchases. I was so curious, I felt compelled to pick up the phone and call him. He answered, and I just launched into it. "Hey, my name is Ryan, and you bought my product on Amazon. I was just wondering if I could ask you how you found it and what you think." "Ryan," he replied, "I love your product. I wish I had recorded it because it would have made the best testimonial. But I'll never forget the feeling. Knowing somebody loved my brand and chose to come back to it was a game changer. That's when it truly hit home, in a way it hadn't before, that building a business is a people game, not a product game." Many internet entrepreneurs are historically guilty of optimizing for algorithms, numbers, and machines, thinking they have to game the system somehow. The truth is you're marketing to people, communicating with people. When you truly understand this, your marketing will get even more effective. You will be motivated to start gathering testimonials, responding to reviews, even when they're bad, and more personally engaging with your customer. You'll see sales aren't transactions, but relationships. This is the moment it becomes real. There's no such thing as a perfect launch. I've tried to find an example of someone who smashed their launch right out of the gate, doing everything perfectly. But outside of major brands with millions of dollars in funding, literally 0 examples come to mind. That's probably because the purpose of the launch isn't to put you on the map everywhere, but just to get the wheels turning. The hundreds of people who have used my work to become 7-figure business owners have almost always started from scratch, crawled their way to the starting line, launched with moderate success, and grown from there. The launch gave them the momentum they needed to start growing. I have a student named Anthony. His first product was a baby carrier. He went from being dead broke, working 3 jobs at once, having no time for his kids, to launching his first product. Within 18 months, he was a full-time entrepreneur. When I tell you that, the assumption I just created is that he had such a good launch that it skyrocketed him to 7 figures. That's not quite how it happens. I often find that people have a misconception, believing that if they get the launch right, they'll automatically be everywhere. This idea of 1, 2, skip a few, launch, you're a millionaire, isn't how it happens. The launch is still in the beginning of the process, and now you have to have sales and momentum to be able to grow something. Remember, you're still in the grind. Anthony had a fine launch, but his biggest strength was that he was methodical about the process. He had 3 to 5 products in mind. He stacked the deck. He launched one product, stoked the fire, and carefully repeated the process the same way for products 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can't skip steps and put all your eggs in the launch basket. Success comes from executing upon every little step along the way, not just the flashiest one. The trillion-dollar marketplace you may launch on Kickstarter or use Shopify to fulfill some of your orders, but most entrepreneurs find the best opportunities on Amazon.com. Amazon is the biggest marketplace in the world, and the company is valued at $1 trillion. It's important to understand that the process in this book is the same no matter what platform you're on, but for a beginner there's really nothing easier or more straightforward than selling on Amazon. As your brand builds momentum after your launch, Amazon will reward you with social proof and free customers. Once you prove that you can bring customers to Amazon, it becomes its own marketing machine, putting you in front of millions of potential buyers. You will start to rank for keywords. You might start to appear on some of their advertising pages for free. You might get a new release, hot new release, or bestseller badge, which will drive up conversions. Lastly, you will start to get reviews, which can make or break your brand. One of my students, Nathan, recently surpassed 60 units a day within the first 3 months of his launch. How? Just by following this process. Why? Because the Amazon marketing machine saw the strength of his activities and turned on in his favor. You've probably seen the section on Amazon labeled, "Frequently bought together." As your friends and other people buy your product, Amazon starts looking at what they've bought before. When this marketing machine kicks in, it shows your product on the listings of other similar products. That's free advertising. There are a few tricks that you can use to show up more often on Amazon. We'll cover a few of them in the next chapter. But one mistake people make is allowing Amazon to determine the direction of their business. You have it backward if you're deciding what products to release based on what you think will sell well on Amazon. Build a business for your customers, and let the ease and scale of Amazon handle everything else. The biggest opportunity of selling on Amazon is that the platform rewards momentum. The more momentum you can build, the more that momentum will accelerate. How do you build that momentum? Loving on your audience. Getting reviews. Engaging your customers. Don't discount the supreme importance of speaking directly to the people buying your product. Some people think they can stack the deck with fake reviews on Amazon, bought through review farms. This ploy misses the point. You're not just trying to get sales, you're trying to build a brand. If you're only focused on manipulating the algorithm, then you're not focused on what matters, your customers. This is why I cringe when people say they have an Amazon business. You don't have an Amazon business. You have a business that takes sales on Amazon.com. It's easy to compare yourself to other similar businesses that also live on Amazon. As a result, you will be tempted to make your pricing decisions and even your next product releases based on what your direct competitors are doing. One of the most difficult things for a first-time business owner to understand is that competitors don't matter nearly as much as you think. Have you ever seen the picture of Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps seconds before he defeats Chad le Clos to win yet another gold medal? Next to him, le Clos is looking at Phelps, watching him beat him by less than half a second. The meme reads, "Winners focus on winning. Losers focus on winners." In business, you win by going all in on your customers. If you focus on trying to beat the winner, the best you can hope for is getting caught up in a price war, which is a race to the bottom. Play your game. Let competitors play theirs, and trust the system will take care of itself. In fact, if you're correctly executing this process, you won't even be thinking about the competition. You'll be too busy talking directly to your customers, making sure you have a damn good product, and making sure they have a damn good experience. Don't forget to reorder in this stage. You're laser focused on sales, reviews, and making your customers happy. What happens when you start making all those sales? You use up inventory. And what happens as you go through inventory? If you're not careful, you go out of business. Sometimes people are so excited about getting those first sales that they completely forget about reordering. Without product to sell, you're not running a business. You can't take sales, and you're not making any revenue. You should consider reordering much earlier than you think and much sooner than you're going to feel comfortable. You may think, I have 500 units, and I'm making 5 sales a day. That means I have 100 days to figure this out. The problem is that the minute a few positive reviews come in and sales jump to 10 a day, you'll only have 50 days of inventory left. If you keep doing your job, you're going to end up with only 10 days of inventory left. That number will keep shrinking until it gets to 0. That's why you want to order as much inventory as you can stomach at the beginning and order inventory again as soon as you're able. My strategy is to reorder as early as possible, as quickly as possible. A rule of thumb: as soon as you prove your product has life, order the next round of inventory. As soon as your launch is complete or you pass 10 sales per day, start queuing up the next order. I know that running out of stock is the worst thing that can happen because, as you read earlier, it happened to me. I'd like to say it only happened to me once, but it's happened in multiple businesses. It sneaks up on you. It was like starting over again each time we ran out of stock. We had to rebuild buzz, and we also lost all the momentum we'd built. I've had products that ran out of inventory but got their momentum back in a couple days. I've also had products that ran out of stock and never regained that momentum. It's just not a risk you want to take, so have a plan to ensure that you never run out of stock. If you do happen to blow through your inventory, it's okay to put people on a waiting list. You just have to perform the process again, and you have to communicate with your customers. I once bought a protein cereal that I found on Instagram. After I'd ordered and paid, they sent me an email saying it was back ordered and would be delayed. That's not cool. If your inventory is on back order, tell your customers right on the sales page. This information may actually increase sales. Showing you have demand creates social proof, and it may even justify a price hike. If your customers are cool with waiting, you'll get the sale. If they don't want to wait, they're still likely to pay attention when your inventory is in stock again. The key is to let them make their own informed choice, so your brand isn't tainted with the feeling of a bait and switch. Go all in on your customers. It's exciting to see sales coming in for the first time, and it's fun to start calculating the amount of money that you might make if you can sustain the growth. However, since you're in the people business now, you must avoid the critical mistake of thinking it's all about you. Yes, you created a cool product, and you worked hard for this, but now your product is in the hands of other people. Those early customers can become raving fans that give you reviews and tell their friends about you, or they can be the reason why your business stalls out. Once you've got sales for your product, your job becomes treating those customers like gold, knowing that some of them are going to leave reviews. This is the point where I always get a million questions. How do I get reviews? When do I get them? How many reviews do I need? How many reviews do you need? 0. Plenty of people made a ton of money before the days of reviews. How many do you want? Simple, as many as you can get. There are multi-million-dollar products out there with thousands of reviews, but there are also multi-million-dollar products with only 100 reviews. Yes, more is technically better, but my philosophy on reviews is that they should confirm a purchase, not be the reason for it. Many Amazon sellers fall into the trap of getting more reviews than the next guy, rather than focusing on creating great products and treating customers well. Reviews are important, but they are far less important than the rest of the formula for getting to $1 million, 3 to 5 products, 25 sales a day, at an average price point of $30. With those numbers, you don't need hundreds of reviews, you need just enough to get past people's bullshit detectors. Continually contributing to the pre-launch community you built is the best way to get buy-in that leads to reviews. Continue to document the growth of your business and the impact your business is making. Continue to bring in the photos that other people post of your product on social media. Take those and highlight them to the rest of your community. By doing this, you continue to build up your community. Celebrate the reviews you do get. Take screenshots and post them on social media. Send unsolicited gifts to people who leave reviews. Reach out personally to people who talk about your business on social media. Those relationships will create millions of dollars over the long run. Go all in on them. That type of commitment and attention to your customers will foster a community that supports you, loves to leave reviews for your product, and eagerly chooses you over the competition. Then, once in a while, you can go for the ask. Hey, we've just launched this new product, and we've been selling for 14 days now. We might even run out of stock at this point. But we really need more reviews, to spread the word, to keep pushing this message, and to get more people into yoga, or CrossFit or sunglasses or eating pineapple. Whatever your group is into. If you have used the product, and you love it, please consider leaving us a review on Amazon, or on Shopify, or Walmart.com, or wherever you're taking orders. Amazon search results are highly driven by conversion rate, not reviews. Reviews impact conversion rate, but conversion rate is what matters. Here's the beauty of this: in theory, if you have more positive reviews than the next person, you'll make more sales, have a higher conversion rate, and rank higher. However, if you have an audience that chooses you over everyone else, your conversion rate is going to be higher even if you don't have a ton of reviews. Having a responsive audience drives up your conversion rates, which drives up your position on Amazon. Reaching a few dozen reviews during your first few months means you have enough reviews to get to 25 or 30 sales a day. You might not have $1 million product, but you'll have enough to get to 25 sales a day, which is your only goal before you repeat the entire process. Remember, all you need is 25 sales a day. Keep your focus tight, and when you get to the point where you've proven your product has enough action in the marketplace, roll out products 2, 3, and 4. Then you continue the journey to $1 million. You might find, however, that a product launch done well takes you straight to the million. That's what happened to my friend Catherine Lavery, co-founder of Best Self Company, a company that helps people become more efficient, focused, and productive, in short, their best selves. Catherine wasn't intending to start the business she did. It came about as an unintended result of scratching her own itch. At the time, my partner and I had our own businesses, she said, and we started an Amazon business on top of everything. We didn't care at all about that Amazon business. We were selling random stuff, salt and pepper shakers, nothing that mattered to us. We were spread way too thinly. We were just looking for a framework to help us get everything done. We both wrote things down in moleskin notebooks, and we liked to nerd out together on how we'd plan our days out. Eventually we realized that we could design our own productivity framework into something much more beautiful and functional. I designed it, Alan made a prototype, and we decided to launch. Catherine immediately wanted to launch on Kickstarter, but Alan disagreed. He wanted to do a product launch formula, but I wanted to do Kickstarter, so we compromised and did a product launch that turned into a Kickstarter. Crowdfunding is incredible because there's a time limit. People see something they want, your product, or the idea of your product, and they see a clock that tells them we need this much money by this countdown or you're not getting this thing you want. Kickstarter also has shoppers who just back products on the platform. They have 15 million backers, and more than a third of those are repeat backers who come back and back and back to promote products. Product development for Catherine, like any other brand, was a long journey with a lot of changes. We listened carefully to what our customers were saying. We gave journals away for free and took feedback on how it worked for users, she said. When people get to be a part of development, they feel ownership over it, and they feel part of the success of the company. Catherine also stacked the deck with an email list she'd been compiling for 3 months, through content she'd been putting out on Medium.com. When launch day on Kickstarter came, they had the incredible luck of getting tweeted by Arianna Huffington as a boost to their name recognition. Their Kickstarter for the Best Self Journal was funded in a scorchingly fast 22 hours. Part of the success was how they priced their funding levels to get Kickstarter's platform boost. The Kickstarter algorithm prefers number of pledges over total amount pledged, Catherine said. So, for instance, if you have 10 pledges of $500, and someone else has 1,000 pledges of $5, you've raised the same amount of money, but the other company will have gotten far more attention. We used this to our advantage. We had a $1 reward level on our project, and it skyrocketed us onto the platform. Early bird rewards are also a huge hack to get more exposure. The secret to funding fast is to set up early bird rewards that equal your funding goal. People love getting rewarded for getting in first, and you get funded fast, look successful, and the algorithm loves you. We set it up so we only needed 200 early backers to hit our whole goal. We got it in 2 days. It's not that many people. Kickstarter's organic traffic is a huge boost, which is why Catherine and Alan put so much focus on getting momentum on the platform. 1/3 of all backers on their project were organic hits from people just browsing Kickstarter. Eyeballs' Best Self company didn't have to do anything to get. After the launch on Kickstarter, they put a pre-order button on the Kickstarter page, to which they were running no traffic, doing no extra work. Catherine looked at the analytics a few days later and realized that the sales were 3 times what they were doing on Amazon in an entire month. She called Alan and told him she couldn't bring herself to go back to the Amazon business and that she wanted to focus on Best Self Co. He agreed. "Great, we'll shut that business down," she said. No, he replied. "We'll sell it. No need to burn the house down on the way out the door." They went all in on Best Self Company and their Kickstarter campaign. Then Catherine and Best Self Company got noticed by Damon John, of Fubu and Shark Tank. Best Self Company went from mid-6 figures to $1 million business in 7 months, and that scaling had nothing to do with Kickstarter. "We expanded our product range," she said. "We realized that the people who would buy their journal would buy other things to help them with productivity. We remembered watching Shark Tank and thinking about some of the businesses we saw. That's not a business, that's a product. We never wanted to be that, so we've been focused on diversifying ever since." Catherine's story demonstrates that if you have a great product, you are good to your customers, and you stack the deck toward a great launch, you eventually hit pay dirt, even if it's not in the way that you first imagined. Halfway to $1 million at this point in the process, I like to tell entrepreneurs that they are halfway to their first million. They never believe me. Never. So, allow me to take a moment to tell you how far you've already come. You are halfway to your first million. How could that be? You ask. We just started taking sales for our product. I am not doing $500,000 right now. At the moment, that may be true, but you'll be shocked at how fast the snowball starts rolling at this point. Your journey so far has been making decisions, getting your product ready, and taking an order. You've been in the grind. Now we enter the growth period, where your sales start to compound. While everyone is different, many entrepreneurs get to their first million just 6 months from this point. That means that you might be halfway to your first million after all. A few months ago, you hadn't even begun your journey. Maybe you didn't even know what you wanted to sell. Now, you've launched, you're taking sales, and you will soon be getting repeat customers and referrals, too. You can actually build $1 million business. I've seen people pace $1 million after 1 or 2 products quite quickly. They go live. Then within 3 or 4 months they have 100 sales a day, which means they've crossed that $1 million threshold. It can happen that fast, but everybody starts at zero. Everyone starts by doubting themselves. Everybody wonders if it's going to work. If you stick with this process, stay devoted to your customers, and watch the power of compounding returns take hold, you can build $1 million business, as hundreds of my students have. You might even build $1 billion business. But wait, forget $1 billion. How do you get those 25 sales every single day? Keep reading to find out. Entrepreneur Spotlight. Kevin Pascoe and Jeremy Shirk. Kevin Pascoe and Jeremy Shirk co-founded Vancouver-based Nested Naturals in late 2013. The company launched in the summer of 2014 with 2 products, Luna, a natural sleep aid, and a Canadian maple syrup. At first, Kevin and Jeremy planned to sell health foods as well as supplements, but building a brand around both maple syrup and sleep aids was proving difficult. After looking at the sales numbers, they quickly decided to focus solely on supplements. They bootstrapped the company with loans from family. From his mother, Jeremy got an initial $10,000 loan that went into upfront costs, mainly purchasing inventory, but also for label design and building the company website. Once they began to grow, Kevin's mother loaned the company another $10 grand. Kevin and Jeremy were focused on one guiding mission for their products: quality ingredients. They wanted honest, transparent products that were natural, organic, and non-GMO. No artificial ingredients, ever. This would become the core of their branding, even if they had no idea at the time. The first sale of their Luna sleep aid happened the first day it was put up on Amazon. Kevin and Jeremy's reaction to a single sale? They were ecstatic. Holy shit. Someone actually bought the thing that we just worked 7 months on. That's what we kept saying, Kevin told me. Even though we'd obviously been working toward that goal, to have it actually work seemed crazy to us. The climb to greater sales was slow at first because the product didn't have a built-in audience and no advertising was put into promoting it. The partners just threw Luna up on Amazon and their website, taking it one day at a time. They had a lot of help in the beginning. Jeremy joined my small mastermind group, which helped remove the unknown. It added to the good foundation of knowledge Jeremy had from being well-versed in internet marketing, online business, and marketing in general. He went into Nested Naturals prepared to do the work, to do whatever it took to make it successful. And with that mindset, success came more quickly than he planned. It was that ethos and mindset, and staying true to their values, that helped make Nested Naturals what it is today, generating fans and customers who supported the brand. As they grew, Kevin and Jeremy experimented with different ways of building a social audience. They offered coupons, put a URL on their product bottles, and did anything they could to drive customers back to their website. When they got customer information or got them on their email list, they personally followed up. One of their biggest early problems was running out of stock, which happened half a dozen times. The partners were only able to order as much product as they could pay for at the time, which led to overselling, all part of the growing pains of a bootstrapped business. Negotiating terms with suppliers was tough, and it was even tougher when inventory that was supposed to last 2 months sold out in half that time. Despite these growing pains, things got better and moved faster as the company continued to iterate through repeated sales cycles. Eventually, it had enough cash reserves to order as much inventory as needed. 3 months in, we had a lot more sales than we'd anticipated, Kevin told me. We were getting probably 1 or 2 dozen orders a day. The company generated $1 million in revenue the first year, mostly from sales of Luna. By the 9th or 10th month, sales had reached a couple $1,000s a day. Kevin and Jeremy found themselves in an odd, relatively rare position. They'd always wanted to have a brand with multiple products, but Luna did so well they couldn't keep up with its growth at first, much less launch other products. We realized we had to completely shift our mindset to get the company on track, Jeremy said. The partners had originally intended to split net profits in half. They realized their business would never grow if they didn't reinvest what they made, especially since they didn't want to take on outside investment. So they buckled in for a lean journey. They each took $2,000 a month out for the first year, just enough to barely survive. They put everything else they had into launching more products and making them work, even if it meant a year of living like monks. The company's second product was Super Greens, a greens powder used to make nutritional drinks. They put a lot of focus on label design to establish the Nested Naturals brand and turn it into a company offering a variety of natural supplements. The approach, which was probably more labor-intensive than absolutely necessary, was for each product to have its unique branding, label, and colors. Each product was like its own brand, with a different look and feel, essentially. Doing different designs for different products got people's attention. Down the road, however, this became a problem. People thought each product was from a different company. Even people who knew the partners thought Nested Naturals had started selling for other companies. A switch to a unified brand had to be made. Kevin was afraid there would be customer pushback on the change, but there wasn't a single complaint. The lesson we learned there is that no one micro-analyzes and overthinks branding more than a company's owners, Kevin said. Branding is important, but your customers aren't going to sweat it as much as you do. It wasn't until the company was doing $2.50 to $3 million a year that the partners decided to build out an office and hire employees. They wanted to do what they needed to do to grow bigger and faster. Traditional retail supplement brands generally have up to 500 products, and they were still only selling 10. A former competitor turned friend, who was also the first person the partners met in my mastermind group, gave the partners some great advice: you can't do it alone. Kevin and Jeremy started hiring. They discussed but decided against a remote team, opting to set up office space. Having everyone in one place makes for better communication and culture, as well as greater employee investment in the company, Jeremy said. It was the right move, but the costs were huge. They tried to keep exorbitant Vancouver rents at bay by setting up their office in a 100-year-old building, rather than in one that had just been built. Nevertheless, the company plateaued during the first year after opening its office doors. Sales didn't increase at all. Kevin attributed this to a loss of focus. We were all over the map that year, he said. Should we go into retail? Wholesale? Sell on Facebook? We needed to get back to basics. Once they refocused on their core competency, selling natural supplements on Amazon, the company started growing again. Now, 3 years later, they have grown to 4 times the size, pulling in $1 million in revenue each month, with a staff of 15, in addition to several contractors who work remotely. According to Kevin, there are things you can and should do when starting out that can't be done once you get bigger. You can test things out, change your branding, and even change your name. Focus on getting things right when you start out so that you can then scale smoothly, as opposed to growing as quickly as possible as early as possible, he said. It's equally important to make sure you have someone to handle inventory by the time you expand your line from 1 item to 10. This could be a part-time contractor at first, as long as they have the right experience. And, when starting out, don't just chase after revenue. A lot of things can start to break and go wrong once you begin selling more. When you're properly set up to scale, you can focus much more exclusively on selling more and more product. It's important, too, to be careful once you start to succeed. You start looking at ways you can spend money to grow the business, Jeremy said. That's when you're going to make mistakes if you're not careful. Once you can afford it, you start feeling there's a lot of help out there to take advantage of, but that's not always the case. We went down the wrong road with influencers in particular, thinking, okay, let's throw 10 grand at influencers and see what happens. Of course, it's going to work, Jeremy said. It was probably the biggest mistake we ever made. We got maybe $100 total back in sales. What Kevin and Jeremy have discovered is that the best way to grow their business is to stay as lean as possible. With rare exceptions, they've resisted trying to buy their way to growth. They've focused on earning their growth by being as strategic as possible and really thinking issues through. Kevin and Jeremy are still 50-50 partners and are as excited as ever to be running the company. They believe there's a lot of growth to be had. Each quarter is a fresh quarter, bringing new, exciting initiatives. They have an amazing team in Vancouver that oversees the nuts and bolts of the business, so they're less hands-on than before, but they're still fired up for the business. With more personnel, things move a bit more slowly, but but the business is still nimble and adaptable. Even today, things change at a rapid pace. Jeremy is just excited to be a part of it. In the years I've been running my brand, a lot of my peers have started and sold companies, maybe even multiple times, he said. But Kevin and I were never looking for a quick buck or a quick exit. They believe they can reach new levels with this business, which will ultimately create a bigger exit down the line, though they don't have a timeline for that. As long as their hearts are still in it and they believe there's more success on the horizon, they're still 100% invested. In fact, instead of looking to be acquired, they're interested in investing and acquiring other companies. There are many different pathways in the entrepreneurial game. The key is to get going, according to Jeremy and Kevin. Winners start and move toward something, Kevin said. Losers are paralyzed by inaction.